Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to explore a really powerful idea from a thinker named Thomas Troward. It's called receptivity, and it's a timeless concept that might just change how you deal with some of your biggest challenges.
So let's just start with a feeling we've all had, right? You know that sense that the harder you push for something, maybe it's an idea at work, a solution to a problem, a change you want to make, the more resistance you feel? It's like you're stuck, and just spinning your wheels is only digging you in deeper.
And that leads us right into this thing we're going to talk about today, the paradox of effort. It's that really strange situation where putting in more force, more hustle, more sheer willpower, it just doesn't get you any closer to your goal. In fact, sometimes it feels like it's pushing it even further away.
So, what if the problem isn't that you're not trying hard enough? What if it's that you're using the wrong kind of effort? We're talking about that forceful, tense striving, that need to control everything, that can actually create its own roadblocks. It's a mental posture of pushing that can totally blind us to the simple answers that might be right in front of our faces.
Okay, so if forcing that door doesn't work, what's the alternative? Well, this brings us to this idea from Thomas Troward called receptivity. And a great way to think about it is as the art of allowing. Now, Troward's definition here is so important. Receptivity is not about passively waiting around for something to happen. He calls it an active and deliberate state of readiness. You know, it's kind of like a satellite dish that's actively turning and tuning itself to find the right signal, not just sitting there hoping a signal randomly bumps into it.
And this really breaks it down. On one side, you've got that forcing mindset. It's all about tension, control, fighting your own thoughts. But the allowing mindset, that's about observing, accepting, and just creating a little mental space. It's really the difference between a clenched fist and an open hand.
So the key here is that receptivity is a skill. It's a state of active, intelligent readiness. And what's really fascinating is how Troward's idea from over 100 years ago perfectly lines up with what modern mindfulness research calls open monitoring. That's the ability to be aware of what you're thinking and feeling without getting all tangled up in it. He was describing a trainable mental state way before we had the science to even measure it.
All right, so if this state is so powerful, why aren't we in it all the time? What stops us? Well, Troward pointed to two main mental roadblocks: our own internal contradictions and the fear that usually fuels them.
The first block was just perfectly captured by the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. If we walk around convinced we already have all the answers, well, our mind is pretty much closed for business. There's just no room for a new insight to land because we're not in a state to receive it. Our own certainty becomes a wall.
And the second roadblock is internal contradiction. This is when one part of your mind wants something, let's say to be more calm and focused, but another part of your mind is actively fighting against it. It's fueled by fear or anxiety or just a belief that I'm not a calm person. You get this internal tug of war that blocks any real progress.
And here's where modern science once again comes in and provides a bridge. There's a whole approach called acceptance and commitment therapy that's built around this idea of psychological flexibility. It's the skill of noticing those difficult thoughts and feelings without trying to fight them. By creating a little space for them, you actually reduce their power, which creates flexibility instead of rigidity. And that is the very essence of the receptive mind Troward was talking about.
Okay, I know this can all sound a little abstract, so let's bring it right down to earth. How can we actually use this shift from forcing to allowing in our real everyday lives?
Let's look at 3 places it shows up all the time. At work, right? When you're stuck on a tough problem, instead of just staring harder at the screen, what if you took a walk to create space for an idea to pop in? Or in a difficult conversation, instead of just planning what you're going to say next, you could practice really open listening. And with habits, instead of using brute willpower to fight a bad one, you could focus on creating an environment where a good habit can just naturally take root. The really big takeaway here is that receptivity isn't some one-time trick, it's a habit. The philosopher Aristotle taught us this. We build skills through practice. Just like we become builders by building, we become more receptive by, well, practicing receptivity. It's a mental muscle that you can absolutely strengthen over time. So, how can you start building that muscle today? Like right now? We can use a super simple, practical exercise. It takes less than a minute. Let's just call it the receptivity reset. Here it is, just 4 simple steps. First, just pause whatever you're doing. Second, notice that feeling of tension or forcing. Third, give it a simple name in your head, no judgment, something like striving or resisting. And fourth, just take one single conscious breath. That's it.
You're just creating a tiny little pocket of space.
Now, the goal of this little practice isn't to magically solve your problem right then and there. The goal is to change your mental posture towards the problem. It's a shift from that closed, tense state of pushing to an open, ready state of allowing. And believe me, that shift, that's where the real power is.
So let's do a quick recap. The big idea is that real progress often comes from allowing, not just forcing. Receptivity is an active, intelligent skill. It gets blocked by our own fixed ideas and those internal conflicts. And, most importantly, it's something you can practice and get better at, starting with that simple receptivity reset. So I'll leave you with this final thought to just kind of chew on. In all the parts of your life where you feel like you're pushing and striving right now, what new ideas, what solutions, what opportunities might be waiting for you if you could just create a little bit of mental space to receive them?
Thanks so much for joining me for this one. In our next explainer, we're going to explore how to apply this very principle of receptivity to setting and achieving your long-term goals. You can find the entire series in our Edinburgh Lectures playlist.